What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And today I'm going to give you a quick story of the first time I was sent to do a removal in the general population. And so if you've seen my San Quentin video, if not, I'll link to it in the video in this one. But I had done a removal in reception center. I didn't get caught for it, but the individual was taken out of the section. But this is the first time on the main line that it had happened. And I was actually inspired to do this video by a guy named L, who has a fairly recent channel, fairly new channel called A Prisoner's Awakening. And I'll link to that also in the description. And he had done a video within the last couple of days, something along the lines of earning his first stripe. And in watching that, there's some real similarities in my situation and his, right? He's from Santa Ana, completely different group segment. But anyways, I would encourage you to watch that video after you watch this one, and I'll link to it. So I'm in Solano. I hadn't been there very long, certainly less than a year, probably less than 6 months. I'm 19 years old, and I live in building 6 at the time, which was kind of the headquarter buildings for the yard, if you will. That was my first main line, level 3. And so a lot of the hermanos lived in that building. The guy who had the keys lived in that building. And so I had done education. I wasn't pulled. At that time, I hadn't been married yet, but I was participating in education, schooling. I was striving, so to speak, right? And so at dinner time, the homie in the building gets at me and says, "Hey, the household needs your assistance on a removal. Are you down?" And I said, "Yeah, who is it?" He goes, "It doesn't matter. I'm not going to tell you. Are you willing to assist or not? It's a hands-on, one-on-one removal." And I said, "Sure. You know, it's not my place to say no." But I was a little nervous because I have no idea who they're talking about, right? I'm assuming it's somebody, it's a removal. So it's somebody within the car, but there's like 100 Northerners on the yard. It could be one of many. And so, but I wasn't going to say no, right? This was the life that I, at the time, was wanting for myself. And I figured I'd be in there forever. And so, you go with the flow, man. And this is part of the flow. So I eat dinner, I go back, the porter comes, the guy who works on a tier. In between, when we come back from dinner and we go to night yard, he comes over, he shoots me a kite that's for me to read, a note that's for me to read. And then he also shoots me another kite that's already very well wrapped up, and a little issue of tobacco that's very well wrapped up, and says, "Here you go." And the kite says, "Secure these things," which means, hoop them, and bring that back to AdSeg with you. The reason for communication, that other kite, I don't know exactly what it said, but it probably had a rundown of why this individual was getting removed, and that I had, I was requested to do it. Probably some other information about the yard, who's there, or whatever, right? And then tobacco is just kind of a gift to the household, so that people can make a little money or whatever. There's no tobacco in AdSeg, even though there was in the general population at the time. So I come out to night yard, and like I said, I'm in building 6. The dude that I'm coming after, Night Owl from Merced, is in building 3. And I had used to be in building 3 with him. And so if you're thinking of the layout, buildings 4, 5, and 6 are over here. Buildings 1, 2, 3 are over there. And so there's a walkway, a path between building 3 and building 4. And that's kind of the split of the yard, so to speak. And that's also where the restrooms are, and the water fountain. And so there's like a little wall on one side, and then the other side is the track that goes, right? So I'm walking, and they tell me, "Hey, it's Night Owl." And I was like, okay. Night Owl's shorter than me. He got a little size. He's fairly strong dude. He wasn't super big, but he's a strong guy. But he was my homeboy. Like, I like that dude. We hung out. We used to be in the same building. He had taught me some things. He had an E number, if I remember right. I had a K number, so he'd been around a little longer than me. And just overall seemed like a pretty chill guy. Now, he wasn't really within the leadership circle, but we had a handful of people at Solano like that had been around and had some schooling, but elected not to participate in kind of the leadership or the politics on the yard. And I think there's many reasons for that, which is another discussion for another time. So we hung out, we kicked it, right? And he knew I was striving. He knew what I was up to. And so now I got to go fire on him. But I'm not 100% sure why. I have some ideas because I'd heard little things of him getting in a little bit of trouble. He was going into the weight pile at the last unlock when nobody else was in the weight pile. No other Northerners were in the weight pile. You weren't allowed to go in there by yourself. This is before they took the weights out. You weren't allowed to go in there by yourself. And Solano, it gets hot, right? And so the last unlock is not people's most favorite time to go work out. So there'd be a couple people in there and he would just go by himself. And he had been reprimanded a couple times about that. And apparently just the homies had had enough, right? So, but I didn't know all that at the time. I just knew he'd been talked to a few times. So anyways, I'm walking. The one thing I know about Night Owl, because we were cool and because we kicked it, we walked the track a ton together, is that he kept a flat pack, a box cutter, under the face of his watch, right? Solano was not a highly secure place in terms of COs and how they operated because people weren't getting hit there. You know, there was some violence, there was some riots, there's plenty of weapons being made, but nobody ever used them on anybody. In my whole time there, nobody was ever hit with a razor or a pedazo from any group segment towards any other group segment. And so, you know, so he carried that around, and the odds of him getting caught, you know, you get pulled over walking a track and they pat you down or whatever is pretty slim. So I knew he carried that. I don't know if the other homies knew he carried that, but they're sending me in there naked. I don't have no weapon. So I tell my homeboy Carlos from Oakland, who also lives in building 6 downstairs, and he ain't with the politics or the striving or the schooling or none of that. He's just trying to do his time and go home. But him and I were real cool. We both had hustles that involved the visiting room. And so we were just cool, man, on a lot of fronts. But so I tell him, check out, bro, I'm gonna go take off on Night Owl. He's like, that's messed up, that's your boy. I said, yeah. I said, hey, here, take this. And I give him a razor. And I said, if he pulls out that flat bag, bro, give me this razor, right? If he doesn't, then no. Like, I don't care. He beat me up or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if he pulls out a weapon, you know, try to get this to me. And he's like, all right, cool. And I didn't feel like I could say that to the other folks in the leadership circle because that's not what I was being asked to do. So I was kind of using a workaround. I was getting at a homeboy who I had a personal connection with and friendship with, so to speak, but who really wasn't tripping off all the politics stuff. So he's like, fuck it, whatever, let's go. And so, and actually I never expressed that to anybody at the time or afterwards. So I'm walking and the homies had said, hey, if he comes out to Night Yard, cool, get him. Don't let him get to our side of the yard. If he doesn't come out, you're gonna have to try to sneak in the building and get him. And again, like I said, security in terms of the COs was not the way that you would see in other facilities. And so, but it all had to happen quick, right? Because I got to get out of my building, get the information of who I'm going after, and then get over there to try to get him before they're done releasing building 3, so that if he's not coming out, I could try to slip in. He comes out. And so that little walkway area that I was talking about is where we catch up with each other. And he's walking with a couple other homeboys from his building. And he's like, what's up? I was like, man, what's up, homie? And he comes and we shake hands, and then I fire on him, right? And I felt bad. There was nerves. I ain't gonna lie, there was nerves. I wasn't really concerned that he was gonna beat me up. I'm not the biggest, baddest dude. I haven't knocked out everybody I fought, but I wasn't too concerned that he was gonna put hands on me. I just butterflies, bro, because I'm getting in a fight and I'm in prison. And also I'm not super excited about it because I like this guy. But it's business. And this was my first real taste of that. And that's why I say that L's video kind of inspired this, right? I'll link to his at the end. I would encourage you to watch it. So I take off on him and I hit him and he backs up, like way up, out of my reach, right? And he's like, man, and so I rush towards him. He throws his radio at me. He had like a Super 3 radio, I think, Super 2 maybe. So he throws his radio, right? And kind of rushes me, and gets me around the waist. He can't pick me up, right? He's strong, but just leverage-wise, I'm too tall. And so I'm hitting him in the side of his head and in his ribs, and I'm kind of grabbing him, and we're sort of wrestling, right? And as this is happening, he's like, all right, Rascal, all right. I see where you stand now. I see where you stand now, man. That's enough. And I remember as he's saying that, I'm wondering, what does he mean? Like, fuck, where do I stand? Right? Did I just make a bad move? Is this a bad call? Am I pulled now? Like, I don't, lots of thoughts are going through my head. And I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling bad. And I don't want to smash this dude, but I also have to do my job. And so put hands on him. We get rushed. It was not a big thing, right? We get rushed by the COs. They snatch us up, take us to the center complex, and put us in separate cages. And the MTA comes and looks. I'm fine. I don't have no mark on me. He's got, some red spots, on his face and his head. And I think my pants are dirty. Maybe like, I think I had a little scrape kind of by my knee. At some point we had kind of gone to the ground. And so the captain or whoever it is, what happened? I said, I was just horse playing. I guess we got a little carried away. It wasn't a big deal. And he goes, yeah, right. You guys ain't allowed to horse play. I was like, yeah, well, that's all it was, man. We was horse playing, Well, they asked Night Owl, and apparently he said the same thing. He said we're just horse playing. And this was not like a prearranged deal, of course. And so they put us in cages right next to each other. They move him from where he is and put him in a cage next to me. And he says, look, I don't think you guys were horse playing. He goes, maybe you were horse playing, but I think one of you is not supposed to be here anymore. I think this is a removal. But I've talked to the tower cop on building 1, and he says that you guys walk the track often, and we've been watching you, and so not 100% sure. But if you don't tell me what's really going on, I'm gonna put you both back out there, and we're gonna find out real quick who's the one that's supposed to be removed and who's the one that's supposed to be doing the removal. And both of us are like, man, we're just horseplay. You put us back out there. So he's like, all right, and he puts us out. So we come back out. By now, night yard is over. Everybody's back in their cells, and so they bring me into building 6. I got my 115, right? A mutual combat 115, not a horseplay one, but I got my 115. And they're like, what's up, man? What happened? Yelling from the cells. And I was like, oh, bro, they knew we was just horse playing. So they just gave us 115s and sent us back to our cells. And that was my way of trying to let them know, but it's very open. Like, it's not a private conversation. I'm in the middle of the day room walking to my cell yelling. So I wanted to let them know, like, hey, he's back too. He's in building 3. And so in the morning time, he comes out, apparently. He gets out of his building as a kitchen worker or something early. And the dude who had the keys to our yard at the time, Tito from Stockton, he was a plumber. So he had come out early to go pick up his tools at the gate, right? So Night Owl goes and catches up with him. And they have some conversation that nobody else is privy to at the time. And whatever Night Owl says, Night Owl was short to the house. He was going home in like 3 weeks. And so whatever he had said, Tito was like, all right, man, it's cool. You can stay here and just parole. So that was that, right? And there was another guy in building 6 who had a pedazo, and he was sent to go tag Night Owl at breakfast time, right? And obviously that didn't happen. He got his name cleared ahead of time. So you can imagine it's pretty awkward in the morning when we come out to yard, and because he's on the yard still and I'm still on the yard. And so I went straight over towards him, and like, we're gonna air this out, figure it out. And I asked the homeboys, I was like, hey, can I just take off on this dude? Or like, how's this gonna work? And they said, man, he should be cool, but if he poses the threat, yeah, do what you gotta do. I said, okay. So we went over there, and I was like, what's up? And he's like, what's up? He goes, hey, check this out, man. I'm not mad about it. You did what you gotta do. I understand. I hope you know what you're doing, but just, keep your distance. I'll keep my distance, man. And I'm trying to go home. I said, look, it's not my call. If you're here, you're here, and I said, I don't have no personal issue with you, man. But yeah, keeping 50 feet, probably a good idea. And that's how it went. And he wound up paroling. And And it's funny because, you report incidents, not funny, but you report incidents as you move through your different prisons, right? So anywhere you go, anytime you go to a new yard or you go to the hole or new prison or anything, you have to report where you've been, who you're with, and in particular, anything like that. Any sort of removals that you're involved in, any mutual combats or getting caught with weapons or anything. So everywhere I've gone, that situation has followed me, right, along with all the other situations I've been in. And I've had people come to me over the years. Oh man, I'm glad you put hands on, because I had my 115 and stuff. Man, I'm glad you put hands on him. I never liked that dude, or he was a smart ass, or he this and I don't know. I was only with him, for a couple months in that one facility, so I don't know what his conduct was like elsewhere. I've heard some things about some cases he's caught or some stuff he's done in the streets. I don't know anything about that. But it's interesting. People have different views of folks. And I don't know if it's just sort of a building a rapport type of thing when you get somewhere new. Oh yeah, man. Okay, cool. I seen that you got into it with so-and-so, man. Yeah. F him. Well, that's letting me know that you're one of the people that reads my response to the questionnaire. And so I don't know, it's a trip, who knows? But I share this because, and I've said this before, without the context of this situation, if you don't want to go put hands on somebody that you like, because somebody that you don't like, frankly, told you to, because I wasn't best buddies with the cats in the leadership circle, right? So the people telling me to put hands on him, I had less of a connection with them than I did Night Out, right? And so, but that's how prison works, right? And when you're told to jump, you jump. And especially if you are carrying yourself as somebody who wants to be about that life, right? Who wants to strive and represent and be a good soldado and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then you're going to do what you're told, because that's what good soldiers do. And I don't regret doing it necessarily. It just kind of came with the territory. But it's another one of those things where, like, man, prison expects you and requires you to act in ways that are just out of character for being an all-around decent person. A decent person in the streets doesn't just, hey man, go take off on your friend next door, and you just walk over there and take off on him, right? So yeah, anyways, help others move in excellence, man. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time, because you're worth it. And if you're into this kind of content, like, subscribe. I got interviews. We talk about mental health, substance abuse, relationships. It's not just prison stuff, man. It's all based on trying to help others move in excellence. And that's all. So have a good one, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.